Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of Three Pints of Purple. And my wife was out of town last time I did it, and lo and behold, she had to go out of town again to help her mother along her journey. So I'm holding down the fort, and what better time to listen to Purple when your significant other's out of the house, and you can just. Plus, it's with the humidex here today. I don't know where you live, but in Halifax, it's supposed to be 35 degrees Celsius, which is about 100 or so. Plenty hot, and it's humid. Fortunately, I have an air conditioner in the other room, but this room is like a hot box. Regardless, I'm looking forward to the music and the beer. I ate first this time too, so that'll make a big difference. So if you missed the first episode of this, I'm going to take two Deep Purple albums per episode and have some beer and then come back and reflect on them. So in this case, the two albums I'm looking at are next along are Deep Purple from 1969, and Deep Purple in Rock from 1970. Now, some people will be saying, well, there's that the Royal Philharmonic and live at the Royal Albert Hall, and I do have a couple copies of that, just the regular vinyl. This is an Italian pressing I got. Gotta be 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and the box set, and the box set has they sort of abbreviated some of the concerto because I think just to make it fit on the number of albums, but they also have the material that Purple played after that, such as Hush, Ring That Neck. I think that maybe they played it before. I'd have to go back and look. Hush, Ring That Neck, and Child in Time. And really, this 1969 going into 1970, that's some of my favorite Purple, like the live stuff they did just after Gillan joined. They were just cooking. I like that. Mind you, it's not as monumental as what they later became, but I love that era. Anyway, I'm not doing this album in this series simply because, I don't want to. It's I really enjoy it, but I really don't want to be listening to a lot of orchestral music and having beer. That ain't my jam. So I'm just going to set this aside and come back to the two albums we're going to be looking at. As I said, Deep Purple. And this is a Canadian pressing from the late 1970s. I think it was 1978. And it's kind of annoying because you have the picture, but it opens up like the wrong way. I guess it's maybe that's the scene. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, you got this nice purple gatefold, mauve almost. Yeah, and I have two copies of In Rock. I got this years ago. This is one of my very first purchases. I got this in high school when I was first junior high, when I was first getting into Deep Purple, which is excellent. And I got this copy, it must be about 10 years ago now. It's a purple vinyl. It was remastered, and this is the one I'm going to be listening to today. So, a little bit about each album. Deep Purple was the last album they recorded with Nick Simper and Rod Evans as part of the band, and In Rock was the first album with Ian Gillan and Roger Glover as members. Two very different sounds too. This was like I consider this kind of a lost prog gem. I love this album a lot, but it is very different from this. This is bold, and this is arty, I guess, in a sense. Really great stuff. And I'll go over the tracks after I come back. So what I'm going to do now is go play this album, and I'm going to start off with this Happy Place double IPA. It's a potent. It's 8.5%. Yeah, Burnside Brewing. That's across the harbour in Dartmouth. I've had that a couple times. I really enjoy it. Then I'm going to, when I listen to In Rock, enjoy a nice Dark Side Dry. a cider made in Dartmouth as well. This is currently my favorite cider. I enjoy that. And then after I have those two albums and the two beers, I'll go away and think about the two albums and if my opinions of them have changed at all. And during that step, I'll have a Propeller Galaxy. Also, another, this is like a very hazy type of beer. It's delicious, quite citrusy. So I will be back. Okay, so I just finished listening to Deep Purple, but before I get to my reviews, I gotta say, this Happy Place was quite tasty indeed. It is a double IPA, so of course it's a little sweet. That's why I've chosen to follow it up with the nice dry cider for In Rock. But yeah, highly recommend that. It was a strong beer, so it is a strong beer, but by the end of the can, I had a couple minutes left of the album, and my mind started to wander, and I thought back to the inside of this gatefold, and I had to look it up because I said mauve. And yes, it is mauve, but not just any mauve. It's heather mauve, which to me doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they wouldn't just color this deep purple? It's kind of strange, but there you go. But back now to talk about this album. I love it so much. It's by far the best sounding album of the Mark I lineup. It's great. And it kind of shows a band that was stepping into its own. It had its own sound. When they started off with Shades, they were just throwing everything they'd ever learned into the album and just seeing what happened. And some of the songs are great. Some of the others weren't quite that great. I mean, they were all good, but not everything was great. And then they progressed through the Book of Taliesin, which surprisingly, after the last listen I gave in the first episode of this series, discovered I actually preferred that over Shades of Deep Purple. In the past, it had always been the other way around. And which all culminated in this album. And like just the songs are tremendous. Chasing Shadows, Blind. I mean, it's a pretty dark album too, lyrically. Haunting, Blind, like a sort of a marginalized woman in Lania. You've got like talk of abortion in Rosemary and April. The way John describes it was nearly like suicidal. So it's lyrically a dark album, musically a dark album, and it is excellent. But it is interesting. I can't help but put it in context of what followed. So to me, I just can't see how this could have continued. Obviously, it could have, but I think the band would have gone in a proggier direction, and a lot of those early 70s prog bands just sort of were great, but they just sort of fizzled out. Some of them kept going, but they certainly didn't achieve the success that Purple did. Mind you, there were other prog groups that were huge, but I'm just talking generally. So now, I'm going to go listen to Deep Purple in Rock with this, it's got some purple, see that's purple, not mauve. I'm going to go listen to this. I'll have my Dark Side dry and report back. All right, so I am back. I've just listened to Deep Purple in Rock. In Rock, I think is the name of the album, but Deep Purple's the name of the band. And this time I was drinking Lake City Cider Dark Side Dry. Fresh pressed cider. It's really great, really dry, and refreshing, especially after a double IPA, which was kind of sweet. I liked it quite a bit, clearly, but this is a nice sort of a uncut cider. So, I mean, what can I say? I did a tier list. Those things are so silly. I may have to do a ranking at some point. Maybe get this 30 views or something on the channel. But yeah, In Rock is, if not my favorite, certainly in my top 2 favorite Deep Purple albums. It's just amazing. The songs, I mean, come on. Speed King, Bloodsucker, Child in Time, Flight of the Rat, Into the Fire, Living Wreck, and Hard Loving Man. All just amazing stuff. I mean, if you had to pick a top song on it, I mean, Child in Time is one of the all-time great rock songs. So you'd have to pick that, I think. But I mean, like Flight of the Rat, come on, that's so good. I think they had spoken about trying to play it live, or maybe they did. I don't know if they've ever played that live. And maybe it just doesn't work energy-wise, but boy, that's probably my go-to song on the album. I mean, Child is great, but Flight of the Rat kills it. Living Wreck, you get that galloping sound that Iron Maiden just lifted wholesale. Speed King, oh, such a great record. Between the 2 albums, it's like I'm going to go and have my galaxy and think about these 2 albums, but my initial thoughts are that not only stylistically, but engineering-wise, I feel I'm not a producer and I'm not an engineer, but this just sounds better than this. At basic level. It could be because it's turned up to 11 versus this, but it's just to me, a better recorded and produced album. That said, this is a little bit more subtle and there's a little bit more, not sophistication, but there's just a little bit more going on there versus this is like pedal to the metal hard rock. So what I'm going to do is go ahead my galaxy and I'll come back and just talk about these albums, just about how my views have changed, or perhaps they haven't changed. But while I do that, I'm going to listen to Bob English, and this is such a great record. I haven't listened to it in about 5 years. It's only about 10 years old. 2015 is when it came out. Jerry Petrelli, and he is the guitarist and singer, I believe, from a band called White Denim. They're out of Austin, Texas, and they're a really, really interesting band. And I have, I think 3 of their albums. I don't think I've had anything in the last 10 years. I mean, it's hard to keep up, right? I do have to get back in touch with their music. But in any case, I love this album, and it's kind of vague at this point. It has been 5 years, but it was killer. And so anyway, I'll come back, give a high-level overview on this, and then talk about these 2 albums and wrap up this episode of 3 Pints of Purple. Talk to you soon. Okay. I am back, and I have just enjoyed a Galaxy India Pale Ale. I don't know if that's showing up there or not. Delicious. It's very citrusy. It's juicy, and highly recommended. Anyway, during the process of this whole thing, because I am considering Deep Purple and In Rock, I was listening to Bob English at the end. And this is a great, if you're interested in interesting music, and I suspect you are if you're watching a Deep Purple video, this is some pretty fun stuff. A really, really great retro, psych pop rock album. Really interesting stuff. And I mean, if you're into the nothing but hard rock, this isn't it. But if you like psychedelic pop rock, you'd like this. Highly recommended. Good stuff. So many great songs. Oh man. Yeah, long distance. This is, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is easily an 8. So great album. Anyway, I'll set that aside and come back to these two albums. Yeah, this whole exercise has reaffirmed my previous notions that this Deep Purple is the best album from the Mark I lineup. And it did show an interesting direction for the band that they could have gone down, but they didn't. Instead, they pivoted to something that completely left the 60s behind. That's something I find with like Sabbath and Zeppelin and a lot of the other bands. There were a lot of obvious 60s influences in their music. But fuck, this album, it's completely, it's a left turn. This is very much 70s. This is a step forward, leaving the 60s behind. Whereas I do, like, I love Zeppelin and I love Black Sabbath, but there was a tie over to sort of that 60s psychedelic era. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this. The next video I make, it may be, depending on how I'm feeling tomorrow. See, my wife, I'm off for a couple days and my wife is out of town and I got to make these while the sun shines. So I may do tomorrow or the day after the next one, which will be Fireball and Machine Head. Let me know what you think, and stay cool out there because it's hot as balls.